So I wanted to do this video, right? Because one, it's like, for some people, I'm Perrion Winfrey central. So like whenever something go down with Perrion Winfrey, positive and negative, I get asked about it because I was a big fan of his coming out of the draft. And I still am a big fan of his potential and what he could potentially bring to the Cleveland Browns. But obviously, if we've watched the Browns play, there has been a lack of Perrion Winfrey on the field, which is a bit questionable because the defensive tackle play has been god awful. Right? Like, if Perrion Winfrey doesn't need to be an impact rookie to be the best defensive tackle on the team right now. He just needs to be an NFL player. And he hasn't played that much. Part of it was due to some, he's in the doghouse reasons, right? With him not waking up on time to meetings, or if people thinking that's connected to him going out. Like, I don't know anything confirmed, but that's been what's been out there about Perrion Winfrey. But it's... Then, recently he came back from that, right? Because that happened during the Miami game, I believe. But he couldn't play during the Buffalo game, and it turned out he was in concussion protocol. Everyone's like, what the hell happened? How did he fall into concussion protocol? And boy, the story on that is hilarious. Now, look, this is ultimately a serious story. And I want to make sure that we take the mental health of Perrion Winfrey very serious, and that we are ultimately sympathetic to some of the plights that he's going to, although we're going to acknowledge that some of these details are hilarious. Right? Like, I want to make sure that this is not just LOL, laugh at Perrion Winfrey, kick him while he's down. This is, brothers had a hard time, but boy, some of the stuff you did while you was down was hilarious. Now, we all know the details that came out about, the displeasure with some of the defense, the leaders on the defense not being happy with some of the players on the defense's tendency to go out. And Perrion Winfrey was kind of, sort of put in that category, right? People said some things. He wasn't active for the game. It seems like he was one of them dudes that was at the club. Now, look, it's important to remember Perrion Winfrey is 22 years old, right? And I don't know about y'all, but when I was 22, in some aspects of my life, I was making great decisions. In other aspects, I was making awful, no good decisions that I ultimately would regret, right? Like, we've all been 22. Just because this man plays football does not mean that his 22 is more mature than your 22, right? Like, everybody does dumb stuff when they're 22. He is very, very young. He's a lot of time to grow. This is no reason to give up on him. But the situation is kind of hilarious. So he has this issue with the clubbing thing or whatever it is. Now, he ends up in concussion protocol. And a lot of us were like confused because he wasn't really practicing. How did he end up in concussion protocol? We knew Greg Newsome got in concussion protocol because of a practice. But this wasn't because of a practice, right? Perrion was in concussion protocol before practice. It turns out that Perrion Winfrey was in concussion protocol because the brother fell off a scooter. A scooter. One of them electric scooters you see downtown? He fell off of one of them. And look, one of the things I'm going to say is I don't think this was alcohol related, right? I think everybody's going to jump to he was downtown riding a scooter and hit a pole and think it's alcohol related. Here's why I don't think it's alcohol related. You can't ride those scooters past like 8 o'clock at night. And I doubt he was drunk at 8 o'clock. Like, that's just not how that happens, right? He was just probably, high on life, having fun with his homies or his homettes. And, decided that he was going to ride them scooters and didn't pay attention. And look, as somebody who rides an electric bike a lot, as somebody who has ridden a lot of those electric scooters in downtown areas, them things can kick up on you, man. Them things ain't no joke. Them electric scooters are for real, right? Especially if you just messing around on it, you go 14 miles per hour faster than you would think on one of them things. And it's harder to balance than you would think. And they're not very big. And these scooters aren't really that adjustable when they're electric. So I can imagine when I step on one of those scooters, I'm 5'8", 5'9", 200 something pounds, like 200 pounds. That's my general size, right? I'm running back sized. And when I get on them scooters, I'll be like, these scooters small. Perrion Winfrey, 6'5", 310 pounds. Ain't no way this brother was squeezing him. What made him think that was safe? Dog. One, hey, look, I'm gonna keep it real. Part of me likes that recklessness because you need that to play defensive line, right? You can't be thinking about the precautions and play defensive line. That's a brother who threw caution to the wind. I just wish he was able to do that when he was on the football field instead. But instead, he took himself off the football field because he fell off the scooter. But I just want to point out the hilarity in all this. This brother fell off a scooter, and the consequences he's going to face because he fell off the scooter. Now, look, nobody's going to be mad at him for falling off the scooter. I think Miles might be a little peeved because Miles is trying to achieve something, and his best prospect at defensive tackle can't play because the brother fell off a scooter and hit a pole. But ultimately, Miles understands because he didn't play in the game because he flipped the Porsche, right? Like, he can't be that mad. If there's somebody who can't be that mad, it's definitely Myles Garrett, because you know what? I'd rather somebody hit a pole with the scooter than flip a Porsche. You know what I mean? Like, that's I think that's fair. I think that's fair. If we're going to let the Porsche flip go with Miles, which I am absolutely letting that slide, we got to let this slide with Perrion. But just like Miles is going to have to deal with speeding jokes and flipping Porsche jokes for pretty much the rest of his career, right? I mean, the helmet jokes just turned into Porsche jokes. Perrion name got to be Scooter now, right? Like that's got to be his new nickname. Like, I'll be very disappointed if I find out that locker room is not calling him Scoot Winfrey. Right? Like, he's Scoot now. Like, every time he does, that's Scoot Winfrey. Look, man, I know people that I grew up with that name was not Scooter, that ended up being named Scooter because they tried one too many tricks on the scooter and failed. Like, that's the kind of stuff that follows you to the I see these dudes till this day. I say, hey, what's up, Scoot? He's Scoot now. He fell off a scooter. Perrion fell off the scooter and missed the game, dog. He's Scoot. He's Scooter. That's his name. That brother is Scooter. But I just saw that story and thought it was hilarious. Now, here's the serious part of it. Perrion has legitimately had a hard time. Now, I don't know how much of this is just exclusively football related. I don't know how much of this is things going on in his life. But I think it's important to remember that when we want some of these young guys to come in and step in and be incredible players right off the bat, some of them are capable of doing it, and that's great. But that doesn't change the fact that these dudes that we're drafting are still at a very critical point in their life. And for me personally, it wasn't until I was like 25 until I could start to be productive for real, for anybody, right? Let alone myself, because I didn't know what it was to be an adult. And it's important to remember, just because these dudes have big money contracts, and some of them do, some of them don't, just because these guys are playing in the NFL and you know of them and because they're famous, does not mean that they have their life together any more than what you would have at that point. And I think we all need to be more remembering of, we can remember the transition really well for whatever reason from high school to college. But we often forget how hard that transition is from college to real life, right? Like, you spend the first 21 to 22 to 23 years of your life, depending on when you graduate college and really get thrown out there and have bills under your name and really like start living on your own. And you just get kind of thrown out there and you're not really prepared. And there's a bunch of stuff you're going to learn. There's a bunch of stuff you don't even know that you got to learn that you're going to have to learn. Right? I'm still learning stuff. I'm only 27. So, you know, I think it's important that we have that leniency, right? Like, is Perrion having the rookie year that I dreamed of him having? Absolutely not. It's not. I did not have fallen off a scooter in West 6 like on the cards. I didn't have Scoot Winfrey on the deck. But that being said, just because the brother fell off a scooter, just because the brother has made some boneheaded mistakes, just because he continues to make some of these boneheaded mistakes at 22, does not mean that he's somebody that you should just give up on, because one, he is immensely talented. Two, I don't think his mind is in the wrong place. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he's doing dumb things because he's a bad person, or that he's even doing dumb things because he's a dumb person. I think he's doing dumb things because he's young. Like, these are just normal young people dumb things. This isn't like anything extravagant, even though the scooter element of it is kind of extravagant, right? But I could have had stories like this when I was 22 if I was famous. But luckily for me, I was not famous, and I'm still not that famous. So if I fall off a scooter, don't nobody know about it. I ain't got to do concussion protocol. But I'm just going to keep it real. I'm not judging that part that harshly, other than calling him Scoot Winfrey, because that's kind of hilarious because he's too big to be on them scooters. But yeah, I just want to put that video out because I think a lot of people will read that article and have a super harsh reaction to it. And I think it's important for us to look at something and recognize, okay, that's not good, but that's also hilarious, right? So often when we hear news on the internet, there is this tendency to go either, oh, it's nothing, and ignore it and get mad at anybody who points it out, or this tendency to go, this is the worst thing that I've ever seen, and shame on you, and finger wag and do all of that. When in reality, a lot of the stuff that we see and read about these athletes is, "Aye, man, you really shouldn't have done that. That was dumb." And it just needs to be left at that. It don't need to go any further or any less than that. Right? But so often we just can't find that medium of just letting something be bad, acknowledging that it's bad, and just moving on. We always got to, grandstand on top of it either way, whichever way we want to do it. So I just think that's important that, like, yes, it's Perrion Winfrey falling off the scooter 100% ridiculous. It's something that he should be admonished for and at least, take his comeuppance in that locker room, sure. Is it something that should get him kicked off the team? No. Right? Like, this is nothing that should get somebody kicked off the team. It's just kind of a hilarious story of a young player trying to find their footing as an adult. And I think we should always remember how tough it was for some of us to find ourselves as an adult. Because I know for myself, it's taking forever. Right? Like, I'm at a point now to where I kind of feel like an adult. But even then, there's still a bunch that I know I don't know. Right? And for a lot of us watching this video who are about the same age as me, y'all know how long it takes, right? It takes forever. It takes years. It's not easy at first. You make a lot of dumb mistakes at first because you're trying to do stuff the way you used to do it, but you can't really move like that no more. You just make a ton of mistakes. And some people have better support systems than others, so you hear about these things less, but that don't mean it don't happen for everybody. But that's just my 2 cents on it. Shout out to Scoot Winfrey. Hope everything's okay. Hope he can have a good game today versus the Buccaneers. And this whole Scoot Winfrey thing could just be kind of a funny thing. But that's it for this video. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night. And check me out on the stream. Don't forget to check me out on the stream. Stream's going to be up early today. So check it out. 1 o'clock, Browns versus Bucks. Jacoby Brissett's last stand.